So this is Darcy Reinagel, and let's talk about judgments, assumptions, and jumping to conclusions and our emotional health. So at times we're suffering in our emotions because of misunderstandings we have with other people. I want to talk about that in relationships. So I have a story that happened, it's a true story, it happened several years ago, or a number of years ago. And that happened. I was helping at a church, and they were going to have a conference the next day, and the pastor's wife asked me if I would vacuum the rugs in the rooms and in the hallway. It was a very big area, so a lot of work, and they had been doing repairs, so there were little paint specks, little paint chips and debris on the floor. It was quite dirty. So I said, sure, I'll do that. So I knew it was going to take a while, so I got up early the next morning and vacuumed all the areas that were the whole job, and got done shortly before the doors opened for the conference. So when my pastor's wife came, apparently I missed a tiny dust ball behind a door somewhere. I never did see it. And that little dust ball said to her that I didn't care enough to vacuum, that I hadn't done the job, that she couldn't trust me, that I wasn't supporting her, and it said all of these things about me that were not true. And it also made it so she could not see any of the rest of the rug that was vacuumed, that was clearly transformed from quite dirty to clean. And that it was very sad because I wasn't able, there was no way for me to explain to her that I had done the job. There was no way to go from there. And it affected our relationship from then on. And it was very sad because that little dust ball, the devil used it to present this whole set of lies to her that she was not able to get past. And I just want to say to you that this type of thing happens way more than we realize. So I want to talk about these little lying dust balls because what a sad thing. Let's not listen to those lying dust balls. So I'm not talking now in this, I'm not talking about when someone is clearly grossly sinning against you. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about these situations where we jump to conclusions and we assume things and we make judgments based on what we perceive, our own perceptions, what we think might be what the other person's motives are, might be what they did or didn't do. This is what I am talking about. So we have to understand that we're all wired differently. You may be familiar with the love languages test. That's one way that became quite clear to people that we really are different and we really do think differently and we have different needs. And so from this, because some people, their love language is that they just want to spend time. Quality time, and for another, if you just spend quality time for them, they don't get it. They want you to give them a gift. And another that wants words, and to some, words don't mean that much. They want you to show it to them by doing something helpful for them. So we all receive love and understand life from an entirely different perspective than others, and it is so important to understand that your words, if you said something, it might mean something totally different when someone else says those same things. So let's take a look. Find my place in my notes. So we tend to, we know the golden rule. We've been taught it since we were little, that do unto others as we would have them do unto you. And that is, in general, the principle we should follow. However, in specific situations, what we want done is not what someone else wants done. So we need to really seek to understand one another. And an example of that So we need to investigate and learn about one another. So an example would be, say we have one mate in a marriage. One mate is more introverted, and to them, they have to have that quiet time every day. And the greatest gift you can give them is to give them some space of their own and quiet time. So that mate in return wants to give the greatest gift to their mate, and to them that would be quiet time. Well, their mate is not the same, and their love language isn't the same, and their wiring isn't the same, their needs aren't the same, their perspective isn't the same. So if there's no communication and they just give this gift, their best gift of quiet time, and the other mate might feel like, well, they don't really care about me. They just leave me here. They don't talk to me. So while they're being given the best gift, they can feel like rejection to them. It's unwanted. It can even feel like they're being cut off and kind of punished. So you can see right here how assumptions and we can go from there to, if we find ourselves on that end, we can go to there to feeling offended, and let down. So when we start to feel those things, this is our cue. We need to, in our relationships, learn to clearly express our needs and desires. And if there is offense, we start to feel negative toward, our mate or someone we're in friendship with, we need to investigate. Not jump to conclusions, not accuse. Just put that on hold and investigate. Calmly and kindly communicate. So I'll give you an example. This happened to Tim and I 2 days ago. I've been looking for a laptop because of my work, and we just have old technology and we need to upgrade. So I've been looking, and my budget is small and my needs are big. So what that means is I research and pray and investigate and wait. And so in this process, I wanted to update Tim. So we're at the dinner table, and I told him where I was at, and his comment was, well, can't we make the old computer that got hit by lightning a few years ago, that's quite old, can't we make that work for what you need? And so immediately my mind was like, well, aren't you hearing me? I'm expressing to you what I need. And when you have needs, this is all the stuff going on in my mind. When you have needs, we always get you what you need. And so, but I've practiced this quite a long time. I caught it and I just put that on hold. And rather than letting the devil form this big case against him in my mind. So I have learned, if I start to feel offense or just negativity toward Tim or someone I'm in relationship, that's the time to investigate. So after dinner, I said, can I talk to you for a second? And usually for men, that's like, oh no, oh no, this is like the worst thing. But thankfully, Tim knows I'm kind, and it's not going to be too bad. So we need to develop that, to put our emotions on hold just a little bit, learn to be calm and kind in our communication and clear. So we talked about it, and it allowed Tim the opportunity to say, oh no, I just thought that maybe that would be the fastest way to get the problem solved. No, we're getting you what you need. I just wanted to make sure that, we weren't, missing a good option for you. So then, that gave him opportunity, and it cleared the air, and none of that stuff being said in my head was true. But if I had gone with it, what it would have been an awful thing. It could have been very damaging. I could have come at Tim like, you don't care, and all that. So we have to learn skills in our relationships. And, Tim and I have been married for 35 years. And, sometimes we think, well, I've known this person. I've been married to them for 30, 40 years. that they ought to know. They just ought to know. If they cared about me, they should just know, how I feel and what I need. But I'm just telling you, that's not the case. With Tim and I, we're just all different people. And after 35 years, I cannot reasonably expect him to just know. I have to clearly communicate. And and if we have a habit of communicating in a kind way, not attacking and not accusing, but just calm down and communicate. This is how I felt when you said that, did that. What's actually going on? What's happening here? If we can do that and give each other an opportunity to build the relationship, then we're in a much better place. It's a much healthier way to handle things. So, um, so when you're in situations and you start to feel negative or offense with friends, I just encourage you, don't go with the emotions, don't go with your assumptions, don't start being offended and telling all of your friends and judging the person. Then you're in sin, honestly, and you're in a bad place. So what we need to do is, don't go with what the devil's telling us in our head, because it's not true. Excuse me. It's not true. Give our friends a chance. It takes courage to press through our own, fear of rejection, fear of conflict. But I encourage you, press through those things and communicate, open lines of communication, so that we can build our relationships, because this other way is so destructive. And if we wonder why, our relationships aren't working, this might be why. We jump to conclusions and we don't ever just have the courage to communicate and allow the other person, to say what, to challenge what the devil's telling us in our head. So if we don't clearly express, our needs and our desires and our opinions as far as, what we would like, what we need to our close relationships, we cannot reasonably expect them to understand what we need, or to, respond in a way that we want. So let's move forward and practice kind, clear communication and calming our emotions and not jumping to conclusions or assumptions. Let's stop letting the devil win in our relationships, and and press forward. So till next time, God bless you. Bye bye.